It was a quiet morning in the countryside, the kind where the world feels still, as if even the wind is waiting for something to happen. The dew clung to the grass like tiny jewels, and birds chirped softly from the trees. In this serene setting, a little girl named Emma walked barefoot along a gravel path near her home. She was only 9 years old, small for her age, with tangled blonde hair, curious green eyes, and a heart bigger than most adults. She was picking wildflowers for her grandmother, humming softly, unaware that her life and the life of another was about to change forever as she rounded a bend in the road near the old oak tree. She stopped suddenly. There, lying limp on the shoulder of the road, was a dog, a large German shepherd. His coat was matted with blood and dirt, one of his legs twisted at an unnatural angle. He was barely breathing, his ribs rising and falling with great effort. Emma's heart clenched. She dropped her bouquet and ran to him. "Hey, hey," she whispered, crouching beside him. "You're okay. I'm here. I won't hurt you." The dog opened one eye weakly. It was full of pain, but also something else, hope. Emma glanced around. No one was in sight. Her farmhouse was still half a mile away. She looked down at the dog again and did the only thing her heart told her to do. She ran. She sprinted all the way home, bursting through the front door, tears in her eyes. "Grandma, Grandma, there's a dog. He's hurt really bad." Her grandmother, a kind woman in her 70s, didn't hesitate. She grabbed a blanket, some first aid supplies, and her keys. "Show me, Emma, quickly." 10 minutes later they were. Kneeling beside the dog, Emma's grandma, a retired nurse, gently examined him. Broken leg, ... shallow breathing. "He's lost a lot of blood. Can't we still alive? Can we save him?" Emma's voice cracked. Her grandmother looked at the dog, then at Emma. "If we hurry, help me lift him." It took both of them to gently roll the shepherd onto the blanket and into the back of their old pickup truck. The dog whimpered softly but didn't resist. They drove to the only vet in town, a rough but kind man named Dr. Harper. When they arrived, he rushed out to help Emma. "What have you gotten into now? There's no time," she said. "Please, save him." Dr. Harper examined the dog carefully, frowning. "He's in bad shape. Someone either hit him with a car or he was thrown out of one. Could be both. He's lucky to be alive." "Will he make it?" Emma asked, her eyes wide. The vet looked from the bleeding dog to the trembling little girl. "I don't know, but I'll try." Hours passed. Emma waited in the vet's waiting room, clutching a ragged teddy bear she always carried with her during hard times. Her grandmother sat beside her, gently rubbing her back. Finally, the vet came out. He made it. "Through surgery," Dr. Harper said, surprised. "I'll be honest, I didn't think he'd survive. But this dog is a fighter." Emma smiled, tears rolling down her cheeks. "Can I see him?" "Not yet. He's resting. But tomorrow, you can come visit him tomorrow." The next day, Emma came back with a small bowl of homemade chicken soup and a note she had written in crayon. "Dear dog, please get better. I'll take care of you forever. Love, Emma." The dog lay on a soft blanket, his leg bandaged and IV still in his paw. He looked weak, but his eyes lit up when he saw her. Emma sat beside him and placed the bowl down. "I'm going to name you Shadow," she whispered, "because you were lying in the shadow of that big tree, but also because I want you to be my shadow from now on." Shadow gave a tiny wag of his tail. The days turned into weeks. Emma visited Shadow every single day. She read him stories. She brought him treats. She told him all about her life, how her parents had died in a car crash when she was 5, how she now lived with her grandma, how sometimes she felt lonely, ... but not anymore. "He listens better than any person I've ever met," she said to Dr. Harper once, and indeed, Shadow seemed to hang on her every word. After a month, Shadow was strong enough to come home. Emma had prepared a little bed for him beside hers. Her grandmother had fixed a spot in the barn for him too, in case he preferred it. But Shadow never left Emma's side. He followed her to school. He waited outside patiently every day until she came out. He walked with her through the fields, lay beside her during thunderstorms, slept at her feet each night. But there was something strange about Shadow. Every now and then, he would stiffen, ears pricking up, eyes staring into the distances. If hearing something no one else could, sometimes he would growl softly in the dead of night. And once he positioned himself in front of Emma's bed, barking so loudly that her grandmother came rushing in, only to find the window slightly open and muddy footprints leading up to it from outside. Something or someone had tried to get in, but Shadow had stopped them. One afternoon, as Emma and her grandmother were at the farmer's market, Shadow stayed home. When they returned, they found the front door wide open. Inside, the house was in disarray. Someone had broken in. Drawers were pulled out, papers scattered. A family photo frame was shattered on the ground. And in the middle of it all sat Shadow, unharmed but alert. His teeth bared, his fur bristled, and beside him, lying unconscious, was a man. A stranger, a burglar, Emma gasped. Her grandmother called the police. When they arrived, the sheriff was shocked. This man's been on our radar for months, breaking into homes. He's dangerous. Looks like your dog just saved your lives. Shadow was hailed as a hero. The local news even did a story on him. But Emma didn't care about the attention. She just hugged him tight. I knew you were special, she whispered. But Shadow's story was far from over. One night, Shadow began acting strangely. He refused his food. He whined constantly, kept pacing near the woods behind the farmhouse. Emma followed him, flashlight in hand. Shadow led her deep into the trees, to a small clearing, and there, partially buried beneath leaves and dirt, was something that made Emma gasp. A collar, and beneath it, stones. Emma stood frozen in the moonlit clearing, her flashlight trembling in her hand. The collar lay half buried in the dirt, old, weather-worn, with faded stitching that spelled out a name, Rex. Beside it, the outline of a shallow grave. Bones protruded from the earth, ribs, a skull. The remnants of a leash tangled in the roots of a nearby tree. Emma turned slowly to Shadow. He sat beside the grave, unmoving, his golden eyes staring straight ahead, not with fear, but with sorrow. What is this? She whispered. Her voice trembled. She dropped to her knees, brushing dirt gently away from the collar. Was this your friend? Shadow let out a low, mournful whine. Something deeper than grief stirred in Emma's chest. A weight of pain, of untold stories, of loyalty lost. She looked around the clearing. It felt different, heavy. Like the air itself remembered something terrible. Shadow moved beside her, pressing his head into her lap, as if asking her to understand, and she did. This wasn't just a grave. This was a memory. The next morning, Emma told her grandmother everything about the grave, the bones, the collar named Rex. Her grandmother went quiet, then sighed. I remember a story from years ago, she said, before we moved here, about a German shepherd who went missing, belonged to a man who was involved in something bad. Rumors were he trained his dogs for more than just guarding. Emma looked up. Like what? Illegal things? Dog fighting? Smuggling? The man disappeared, and so did the dog. No one ever found them. She paused until now. Emma's eyes widened. You mean Shadow might have been part of that? Maybe. Or maybe he ran away from it. Maybe he escaped and tried to forget. Emma looked down at Shadow, who lay at her feet, his eyes heavy with something more than sleep. He's not like that, she whispered. He saved me. I know, her grandmother said. Whatever he was before, it's not who he is now. Emma's discovery had set something in motion. Over the next few days, strange things began to happen. A black SUV started parking just down the road from their farmhouse, its windows tinted, its engine always running. Emma noticed it one evening. On her walk home from school, Shadow growled the moment he saw it. The car sped off. The next day, they found their barn door open. Nothing was stolen but Shadow's old bandages, his vet paperwork. And even the collar Emma had found near the grave were gone. Someone was watching them, someone who knew. One night, Shadow began barking wildly, racing from room to room. Emma followed him to the front porch and stopped dead. The black SUV was parked at the end of their driveway. Its headlights off, Shadow bolted toward it. The car screeched and turned, tires spinning in the dirt. Shadow chased it halfway down the road before returning, panting and tense. "Who are they?" Emma asked aloud, fear creeping into her chest. That night, her grandmother locked every window. Emma clutched Shadow tighter than ever. The next morning, Dr. Harper showed up at their door. "Something's wrong," he said. "Last night, someone broke into my clinic. They took Shadow's records," Emma gasped. "Why?" "I think whoever hurt him before, ... wants him back." Shadow stood in the hallway, hackles raised. He growled low. Dr. Harper continued, "Emma, you need to keep him close. And be careful, very careful." But it was too late. That evening, as the sun dipped behind the trees, a figure emerged from the woods. A man in black, tall, scarred, and behind him, 2 dogs, fierce, muzzled, eyes gleaming with aggression. Shadow stepped forward, standing. Between Emma and the man, the stranger grinned. "So this is where you ran to," he said, voice cold. "Thought you could hide forever?" Emma pulled Shadow back. "Who are you?" The man ignored her. "You remember me, don't you, boy?" he said to Shadow. "You ran when Rex died? But you were my best, my finest. I trained you myself." Shadow growled, deep and guttural. "You're coming with me," the man hissed. Shadow lunged. The other 2 dogs leaped forward, snarling, trying to block him, but Shadow tore through them. Like a storm, teeth bared, he struck the man. Knocking him down, the man pulled something from his belt, a taser. Emma screamed, "No!" But Shadow was faster. With a ferocious growl, he bit down on the taser hand, forcing it away. Police sirens echoed in the distance. The man panicked, grabbed his wounded arm, and stumbled into the trees. The dogs followed, limping. Shadow didn't. Chasey stood still, chest heaving, staring after the man who once owned him. Emma ran to him. "You saved me again," she whispered, tears in her eyes. He nuzzled her gently. Later that night, the sheriff came. The man was caught 3 miles down the road, arrested for illegal animal training, home invasion, and assault. The 2 aggressive dogs were taken to a rehabilitation center. They would need time, but with care, they could be saved. Just like Shadow. In the months that followed, Emma and Shadow became inseparable again. The news ran their story of a little girl and the dog she saved, who in turn saved her. But Emma didn't need a headline. She had something far more precious, a best friend, a protector. A soul who had seen the worst of the world and chosen love anyway. One spring evening, as the fireflies danced in the golden dusk, Emma sat on the porch, her head resting against Shadow's side. "You're not just a miracle," she whispered. "You're my miracle." Shadow let out a contented sigh, his eyes closing in peace. Whatever his past had been, it no longer owned him, because he had found his forever home in the heart of a little girl who believed he was worth saving. And that made all the difference.